there was this yearning to really understand more about my African roots. And of course, with the inequalities and the injustices that Black and brown people face in America and New York at large, there was that Marcus Garveyism, the drive, all those things kind of sort of fueled my activism. And so that was really where the birth of the African Heritage Day Parade came from. And then that birthed two other parades, two other festivals. So, I was born in Brooklyn when we moved to Staten Island in probably 1979. And at some point, I lived in Nigeria, London, came back here. But I grew up in the neighborhood you saw today. That's why I'm hearing me speak. I spoke about it. Yeah, that's it. This was at the height of the AIDS epidemic, the crack epidemics. So it was a very tough and rough time to be growing up there. And crime was out of control. The injustices that you've seen today were super amplified. Things have gotten better, to be honest with you. So my upbringing was a mix of growing up with African Americans and then African immigrants who mainly came from Nigeria and West African countries, but particularly Liberia and Sierra Leone. Because this was during the time of civil unrest in those countries. That's right. So there was an influx of refugees. So you had a mix of Black America, continental, diaspora. Oh, we got along. There were not a lot of Africans at the time, so I was one of the few. Being a knucklehead, being a young kid trying to figure out culture and identity.
I have the honor to sit down with a prominent member of the African diaspora here in New York City, Mr. Bobby Digi.
Right, let's see.
We've been talking about, how that been set up for a while.
It's been
And we're finally making it happen. And I'm really excited to hear your story. You had a great event, which is the African Parade. And to start, I just want you to tell me about your involvement in planning for the African Parade.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really honored, and I feel it's a privilege to have, young Africans who are interested in the blessing that we're able to share this space together, first of all. The African Festival, Heritage Festival, that occurs today is really a wonderful initiative that we Africans in the diaspora living on Staten Island particularly are utilizing to really amplify the beauty and the depth and breadth of the Africans in the diaspora who live here, who contribute here, and who of course are part of the fiber that makes New York such a melting pot. Go back in history to about 2005. I founded the first ever Black Heritage Day Parade on Staten Island in Staten Island history. And the reason that was necessary and the reason why I'm proud to have been the initiator of that was because I grew up in Park Hill State. I grew up in the same clan. It was in me. The experience and the privilege of having the best of both worlds. Well, that's right. But as I grew older, there was this yearning to really understand more about my African roots. And of course, with the inequalities and the injustices that Black and brown people face in America and New York at large, there was that Marcus Garveyism and that equating from the drive, all those things kind of sort of fueled my activism. And so that was really where the birth of the African Heritage Day Parade came from. And then that birthed two other parades, two other festivals. One is the one that the African Heritage community does, an African Heritage Day Parade. And then the second was what we saw today, which was the African Heritage Festival. So there were two, but then there were one initially, and they became two. And we celebrated, in fact, the convener of the other one who took over from me. She was there at today's festival. So it's a celebration of Blacks in the diaspora. and descendants of Africans from the continent of Africa. So the privilege to be there, you can see me in my flowers representing. Yeah, so that was, and I'm glad that you guys got to witness that, because originally that was in part of the plan.
That's huge. Yeah. Great stuff, man. So that kind of impacts you making in not just stand out, but the city as a whole. And, I commend you for doing that. You're doing an amazing job with that. So I know you mentioned that you grew up in Staten Island, so you have a strong tie to Staten Island.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell me about your life living here, growing up here?
Yeah. So, I was born in Brooklyn, moved to Staten Island in 1979. And at some point, I lived in Nigeria, London, came back here. But I grew up in the neighborhood you saw today. That's what we heard me speak. I spoke about.
That's in Block?
Yeah, that's in Block. Oh, I grew up in Park Hill. And at the time I was growing up there, this was at the height of the AIDS epidemic, the crack epidemics. Yeah. So it was a very tough and rough time to be growing up there. And crime was out of control. The injustices that you see today were super amplified. Things have gotten better, to be honest with you. So my upbringing was a mix of growing up with African Americans and then African immigrants who mainly came from Nigeria and West African countries, but particularly Nigeria and Sierra Leone. Because this was during the time of civil unrest in those countries.
That's right.
So there was an influx of refugees. So you had a mix of Black America, continental, diaspora. But we got along, there were not a lot of Africans at the time. So I was one of the few. Being an uncle and being a young kid trying to figure out the culture and identity, I would say I got in trouble often. But that also was kind of much of what really sharpened and fostered who I am. But let me say that thanks to my strong parents who were connected to the African culture, and if you know what I mean, they didn't play around with the king.
Right. This was very disciplined.
Yeah, so I think as a kid I was sent to Nigeria to kind of experience the other side. And I can say back that's probably what saved my life, and also what sharpened my discipline and my skill sets, sort of like being focused and being driven.
Correct.
So I credit a lot of that to having been able to go back. So when I came back, because I went to college, started a small business, home improvement business. That was how I came my way to college. My work ethics was sick. When I say sick, I mean I worked. I had one company. I worked 2 positions, and I'm quadruple major in college.
Yeah,
so
I read that. Nothing against my name.
Yeah. So different time. And when I'm be honest with you, I always knew I was going to be a businessman, right? But as an African youth, your parents tell you got to get that degree, you got to get that education. So I went in and I went hard. I was like, let me get this out of the way. Right. And when I graduated, at the time I was making money because I was one of the few Black-owned home improvement companies. Yeah. And where I had worked before, I made some good connections. I was working at a doctor's hospital. And the doctors would give me the contracts to do the indication for me. So, if you do a good job with works recs, if you screw up, you don't get no business. And I was very determined. So any contract I got, I went above and beyond. And because of that, the doctors would refer me to other doctors. Right. To the point that I was young. I was like 20 years old. The business blew up, but I never had any formal business management. Right? So I kind of got freaked out because, I had more work than I could manage. And I think I was more probably as a kid focused on quality control. So I stepped back from the business and I focused on my school. Man, made some good money. I was like, okay, I focused on my school. Probably maybe had no more than $6,000 in student loans, which I paid off fairly quickly. Anyway, that opportunity exposed me to the importance of home ownership. Wow. Because I saw these doctors whose vacation homes I was facing, and it started to open my mind, And when I graduated, I wanted to do a real estate course, but the person that I was going to be attached to winded up not really being someone who was kind of credible. So I wanted to put the money I had buying real estate and fix it because I already have the renovation experience. Right. So I bought cheap, renovated, and I was able to sell it. Yeah, man. So I started doing that, was stacking knowledge early. Yeah. And I made some really good margins. So I continued that, and I found love and passion in that. But let me tell you something, the margin in the real estate was everything. But simultaneously, I owned the revenue. So I decided, and I think bought a pretty nice house at the time, but then I decided to move to Japan. What made me move to Japan was because I had met some Japanese, and my ex-girlfriend, who turned into my ex-wife at the time. Some way I met Japanese artists who would come into New York. And they would come to New York because they wanted the New York style music production. And more will come in and they would get overcharged. So I said, I had my message, you know what, if I go to Tokyo and I set up a production house, then I'll get all the business. It's opportunity. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I took a couple of $100,000. I said, I'm going to go to Japan. I'm going to go big. And I had a space probably slightly bigger than this. And I divided it into 4 units. One was production suite, a recording studio. The other was a lounge. One was my office, and then the other was a fashion booth. Wow. And that was see because I knew about the connection between music and fashion. And the Japanese, they were paying tons of money for merch that I was getting and going like in the hand. Wow. So I was against. So I had this duplex that was servicing, people would come in and show in the lounge. Some would come to record it, some came to buy fashion. That quickly became very successful. I was the only independent record label in Tokyo. Probably Japan. I didn't know about the other things. But
let me ask you this. Were you producing music yourself?
Yes, I was.
Wow.
So I was producing Japanese artists. I actually signed a Japanese reggae artist who I then went to America. And then I had him under my label, which is still on team at the time, who was after my first ball. I started the label. The logo was actually in space in his image. And so going to Japan, culture shock. But again, work ethics. I was the guy that would network. People were blown away by the space. And I built the space, by the way. So the space was an open space, and I divided it up. Again, going back to my own knowledge. That's right. There's some of the artists who I took from American when they actually helped. Jabami, shout out to Jabami. He's very close to like what you know, brother. I took him to Japan. I took him about 2,000 friends, so thereabout. So we started this label. We winded up producing Japanese artists. When artists would come from America to Japan, my place is where they stopped. As a matter of fact, fun fact, when Kanye West, before anybody was, had wanted to meet with, I didn't know who it was, and I had my vice president of my label meet with him at the time. This is my former left. Yeah. And then we also had Michael Jackson. A lot of hip hop artists came through. LL, a lot of different hip hop artists, and I became very close to the radio DJ, who I'm still close to today. MC Real. Shout out to MC Real. Shout out to yeah. And so we made community in Japan. Yeah. Trust was built, so I started doing festivals. Made a lot of money in that. Then I got homesick after about 8 years. By the way, I had one son at the time. My middle son was born in Yokohama. Then I came back to America because I was homesick. And when I came back to America, what inspired my civic engagement aspect is I had been fortunate, Here I was, I graduated. I went to Japan. Thank God I did well. When I came back, I went to my old neighborhood and I saw nothing had changed. Whatever happened, I went, all that time I went away and came back to America, I don't know what I thought. I thought, things were going to be different, better, when I was an artist in Japan. Right. So I started out saying, wow, I want to support and sponsor events and community groups. Then I realized I was throwing money at the problem. Because when you go to see what you're investing in, it may not have been what your budget was or whatever. Then ultimately I started getting very close to participating, organized, right? Actually buying things that maybe community need and whatnot. And then I said, you know what? I need an organization that I can do this thing. That's when I created I Am the Voice. I Am the Voice was an organization, a platform to give voice to the underserved. I mean, because of Staten Island and no man's an island, and island need a voice, that was the concept around that. And there was going to be an organization and a newspaper. That was also what I was going to.
So you had a newspaper / magazine attached to that.
Pretty much, yeah. And the reason that was important is because on Staten Island there was only one newspaper. And at the time, that newspaper covered more white people. And when they covered black people, it was either when they would be arrested, blacks were never on the front page unless it was something negative. Right. And I hate that. So I wanted to counter that. So I Am the Voice was going to tell the stories of African American curriculums. And also we were going to focus on economic empowerment, cultural awareness, and then also youth empowerment. So through the youth empowerment, I created the Youth Empowerment Summit, which is 18 years old. And in 18 years, I've empowered over 10,000 people. And how do we do that? Every youth summit, we account for over 500 young folks. And then we pair them up with people who are successful. And then they get a mentor or an opportunity to figure out how to go to college, if it's job preparedness. When you amplify it over time or you follow that up, you see that you're hitting a data that you're catching the data, you hit the goal, you hit a target point. You replicate that over the years and multiply that. You touch X amount of lives. Right. So that was on the one end of the youth summit. The other thing we did was the economic empowerment workshops. Those workshops, again, we teach people about OSHA. We teach people about how to prepare for job readiness. We're teaching people about essay writing, this kind of so on and so forth. Yeah. And this is really just my formula is by seeing the element of the need. Yeah. And then the thing is, I want to do what I love. At the same time, whatever I love, I'm going to make sure that I'm touching lives and empowering people. So symbiosis, yeah.
Yes. Great job. That's somebody who could really tell us. You could go on and on.
I write a bunch of books.
Yes. Definitely it's all working. All you guys are working through the audience out there to really learn about how businesses come about, how you find opportunities in growing places. Sometimes God put us in positions where we're challenged. That's right. Challenge is what really birthing us a purpose.
That's right.
This is what I believe for all of them. I really think you're doing a great job, and it seemed like it was all orchestrated for it to happen the way that. And you've really utilized that opportunity that you got to really turn it into something that's changing lives.
Amen.
Thank you. Have a something lunch.
Yes.
For cancers.
Yeah.
Tell us about.
Yeah. So, I'm all about expansion, right? So we have 2 canvas sites. Next year, I don't know if I told you about that, we're going to be doing a delegation to Nigeria. I was even doing the ground steps for Canvas Africa. But for this one, this is our new site. Okay. And so this is servicing the northern part of Staten Island. And this site is going to be launched in October 13th. Okay. And this site is accessible to people in downtown Manhattan. So you have to just get a Brooklyn, sorry. Brooklyn is that's right. Absolutely right there. And this is less than an hour. Yeah. About 40 minutes to get down here. And we're launching this space. We're opening it up. We want the community to know that we're here. It's in a shopping mall, so it's perfect. We have a lot of international visitors, and because we're looking chessboards out there, I can't even tell you how people from all over the world, literally, seriously, who come in, hey, can we get a game of chess? So that it promotes us, but it's also, like I said, expanding what we do now. We're expanding our works to different communities, exposing it even international. So Canvas is going international point, but this page is about one path for a bigger flow.
Correct. That's great. And also, there's another event which is I saw people's money.
Yes.
So happening here is
That's right. That's
October
right.
20.
Correct. October 20th, we're doing what is called the People's Money. This is our second iteration of it. So the People's Money is basically budgetary participation. So that's like the city of New York and the mayor's office, right, has a funnel to which they allow, and this is for citywide, where they allow for the community to be civically involved in where the budget should allocate. And there's nothing better than this, where people can decide how initiatives or needs of their community can be funded. So what we're doing as a civic engagement organization is that we have been, we won a grant through the Civic Engagement Commission, we partnered with for to provide a workshop on 25 people who are going to learn how to participate in this participatory budget, it's called. And it's a process where people become engaged in the voting process of where dollars should go. And I think that's true democracy. So I'm happy that we're in the whole set.
So, you've spoken about like passion projects, your opportunities, and you talk about the people's money, everything that you're doing with Canvas Institute and Island Voices. What vision do you have? Like, where do you see this going in the next 5 years? Say, the next 10 years, where do you see this?
I could tell you the next 30 years.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, thank you. I like to talk to people who have done their homework and their research because it makes the conversation more engaging, right? So I spent about 30 years at this point since I started my civic engagement work, really doing the community development, youth empowerment work, and I've been very intentional about it. As a matter of fact, right now I'm a certified best practitioner in systems thinking. And systems thinking is dealing with issues and events from a systems thinking perspective. I'll give you an example. When you look at iceberg, right? The portion of the iceberg you see only about 10%. Where's the rest of the iceberg? Exactly. That's about 90%. And in order for you to get to that, you have to go to deep dive. So why I brought that up is that we have to approach things looking at the fundamental solution, not the symptomatic solution. Symptomatic solutions are like band-aids, right? So my approach to answer your question is this. Whatever I do, I have to think about how is it sustainable and how is it evidence-based. Evidence-based is best practices. What have I done that has worked? What have I done that hasn't worked? And how am I kind of like moving more towards what works and is sustainable? So we've done a lot of great more work and have amazing measurable impact in the lives of our community. So in the next 5 to 10 years, I see Canvas Institute going to the continent of Africa, replicating what we've done in America for 30 years, right? And creating this concept that can be expanded on the continent of Africa. Why do I say that? Because civic engagement is really important for our people. Cultural empowerment, enrichment, and so on. Because over time, we think of culture, the value of it, until others are telling us about it, right? And arts and culture is part of my life, my heart. So that's naturally what I love. And my next iteration in the next 5 to 10 years is the expansion of this, teaching people how to work towards fundamental solution, how to do what they love and solve issues in their communities, and how can we replicate that and create a harmonious community. So that's my mission, that's my purpose, and that's my passion as a matter of fact.
Man, amazing, man. Amazing. When everything starts, the idea starts from the ground up. You have to build your foundation, and guess what? The foundation should be the strongest part, right? You don't have a great foundation. Like you see this skyscraper in New York City. They spend a lot more time on the foundation than the actual building itself. So, you can imagine. That's why these buildings are sustained for hundreds of years. And that's what he's talking about. And I love that idea. So, talking about passion projects and all that. Right now, I want to you hold a very important role as the president of the North Shore Business Association, or are you still, or?
I was the president of the North Shore Business Alliance. I can tell you about that. So I own a couple of businesses, and one of the businesses that I owned was a night spa. It's very hard, almost lounge. And at the time, when I owned Almost Lounge, I was just thinking the number one night spa owned by any person of color in the entire borough. And it was on Bay Street at the time. What happened is we had a storm, super storm Sandy came and it flooded Bay Street. I mean, the ocean swelled and literally I had about 4 feet of water in my business. So we were flooded out. And over 100 businesses were also flooded out. Now, the unfortunate thing is, of course, this is a natural disaster. So a lot of businesses were going out of business. And what happened is, again, because of my history as a community activist, most of the businesses that we were getting together to see how can we get help winded up nominating me the president of this group. So I became president through that, created a restaurant group to bring back business foot traffic to the Bay Street corridor. That allowed me to even deepen my connection with the businesses along the North Shore of Staten Island. And I learned a lot from the process. In fact, two senators appointed me rather than governor, appointed on the New York Riders. Through that, I was able to help lend a voice for able to successfully advocate for $35 million that came to this borough.
Wow. What would be your biggest accomplishment as the first?
I would say, and there's a few. So I cook-in. It's a couple of big accomplishments. But we created the restaurant crawl, right, which was very successful. So successful that in different neighborhoods, in business districts in the borough started copying the concept. And they acknowledged that they got the concept from us. So I think that's a big success, because what you want to see is that when you create a product that's successful, that people can replicate it to improve their business community. So that was one success. The other is that we have a place that can cleaned up now. You can look it up, it's called Bakery Thing. And it's becoming an event and community space. And again, we were big supporters of that. And of course, I said, we're going to get $75 million. But that was something that I didn't be on the governor's committee. But that opportunity came as a result of being the president of the North Shore Alliance.
Amazing.
Amazing. And let me just say one thing, though. Folks, this happened with building coalition. So in as much as, I spearheaded some of these things, it was the skill sets of being able to build a coalition. That is where the success really lies.
Yes. It's, at some point in time, it's to have the mindset of working alone. And, correlation, collaboration, unity is really strength. How did culture in Nigeria really build you and set you up for, the accomplishments that you've attained?
It plays a huge role. It continues to play a huge role. When I left America in even high school, I went to an international school where all of the politicians and the president's kids went. So I went to the Digi school initially. And I went off of that and I got into a fight. So I got into a fight. Principal with the African American says, and they wanted to demote me. It's like, I'm not having that. So my uncle told me in the military. So I went to the Air Force Secondary School. And let me tell you something. Wow. Listen, that was no joke. No joke. For those who don't know, the equivalent to like West Point. So I went to military school, and that really taught me discipline, And that was in the high school I went to. So I learned hardcore. You got punished, you got cane, you got corporate punishment and military punishment if you act it out. But I wanted to become like labor prefect in my final year, and I was responsible for the whole school. So that taught me how to galvanize people, how to deal with different personalities. Then I went to one of the oldest universities in Africa. It's called Unveil University.
Yes.
And when I went to that school, man, I learned again different type of hardship. I've never seen where people were clamoring to go to university, and where when there was no lights, we were reading the candles because people wanted to cheat. So that was, so when I came back, this is about the part people major. When I came back to America, I saw the I was like, this is decent. Okay. It's like, you can do 4 degrees and, correlate with degrees. I was like, I want to do this. And, so it instilled resilience. It instilled discipline. It instilled a drive in me that to me is very unique to my person, And again, it's Nigerian, so coming back to America, I was focused, I was determined, and I had compassion because I'd seen what suffering looked like. So whatever I do, I try to think about the humanity, whatever.
If you were to go back, to your background with all the things that you have done, would you, if you were to start all over again, would you have chosen business? Or if you were to choose another path, what path would that be?
Wow. First of all, let me just acknowledge that I am blessed. I am really blessed, and I'm very fortunate and privileged to be where I'm at right now. Because I don't like the people that I grew up in Park Hill. I had a friend in Africa who wanted to have as good as I'm doing. Right? This is the first of all, I acknowledge that. So I'm grateful for that. But if I would have had to do anything else different, it would have been to really kind of enjoy my accomplishments more at the time of my accomplishments. I have a tendency to accomplish some things that have been kind of like, okay, I did that. What's next? So I'm kind of in the space now where I'm appreciating more and really reflecting on my accomplishments now. But I might have gone further into music because I love music. Like, music is being, producing music, touring and producing shows, and believe it or not, I kind of projected a lot of hits, and I've been around, like, the lady that discovered Lady Gaga was an artist that I was working. You know what I'm saying? Like the New San Juan, I've had some involvement in their stuff. They wanted to collaborate in different ways. Just recently, we've been involved who's there. And I don't think I pursued it as much as I could have pursued it. And also the Afrobeats. Let me tell you something, I was ahead of that. I almost signed to my, he couldn't get me when I was in Nigeria. I was one of the first sponsors for Davida Whiskey in New York. Shout out to Big Moose, Aria, and Under the Rock. And those are the pillars, those are the guys that were like doing all this constant things that were. So I knew Whiskey and Davida before they blew up. We used to do small venues, in the city in Manhattan. And I was the one putting up the money to some of those shows, and the whole part of the investor in that. And then I remembered when Two-Face by Jay Martin. That's not been Jay Martin. Shout out to Jay Martin, who is, I think he's a commissioner in Germany. And then Nollywood Films. Yeah, I used to bring those Nollywood actors to step out. If you can look this up, actually, if you look at it's all bringing up. But I would have set up more infrastructure around that. But you know what? It's not too late because I'm still cool with some of them, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. Yeah. So long as you have life, you can always make big things happen. That's my philosophy. Yes. Yeah, but those are some of the things that I might have gone further into. Yeah, and I would have probably gone more real estate. Okay. Yeah, I would have went a lot more real estate.
That has been taken.
Yeah. But it's not too late, Yeah. I would have went a lot more real estate, man. I was smart though. I wasn't like, people get money and they buy. I wasn't the kind that would lie about Bentley. I bought real estate instead of buying Bentley. Although I had nice handbars about the other G-Wagon and all that stuff. And I was young almost. Cars and stuff. Right. But I'm glad that I did also invest in real estate. But I wish I knew what I knew now. But I want to buy buildings. Right. That's the world. But, wow. So buy real estate.
Yes, that's something this young generation is thinking about.
Buy real estate. And let me just tell you, you keep reading and hearing that, oh, the millennials can't afford real estate. Don't believe the hype. Guys and girls, let me tell you something. Anytime the market is a good time to buy, trust me, you just have to find the right deal, right location, right structure of the loan. They don't make properties, they don't make real estate, they don't make land. I mean, they don't make land, that's what I want to say. Land is cost. So buy what you can buy when you can buy it. Don't let anybody scare you about, you have to figure it out. If you don't know, ask questions. You know, there are people out there who are probably in that world doing it. You may not be talking about it, but if you know anybody, ask questions. That's what I did. I was very curious, and I went outside of the community. You know what I'm saying? Like, I tried to visit my community because some of the folks, you know, they tried to undermine what I was doing. And it was like an young Italian guy that's running about properties. And then it ultimately, you know, I just went on and ventured out. That was important to say.
They say you don't know what you have till it's gone. True that. You know. Yeah, so you know, segueing way into our conversation, you know, so many people come from Africa, come from the Caribbean, you know, in search for the American dream. And you know, to some, American dream is educational pursuit to get degrees. To some, is to have money with family. What is the American dream mean to you?
For me? Wow, that's a good question. You know, initially, when I came back, I was like, I want to be, you know what's crazy? It's really crazy, actually. So, I grew up in Park Hill. My childhood friends, the ones that I was like a big road to, one, shout out to Adwai and Monet. That's my little boy. I still got him as a kid. He wound up signing NFL deal. He played in Chicago Cubs. And then, he's retired. He played for Miami Dolphins. But you can look him up. Adwai Bloom, that worked with Bob Kelvin, Nigerian. It's like my little rebel. And then another one, Thomas Sear, played for the Dallas Cowboys. Right? And then the friends that I grew up with, Drew St. Clair, like the Bull. I was moving with that. So honestly, when I came back, success to me was I wanted to make sure I got my degrees so I could get my mother on my back. I wanted to not live in the hood anymore for sure. So I was able to buy real estate. I wanted to be able to like travel, or I wanted to live in Japan for 8 years and becoming very successful. Like, I mean, now I'm back to Staten Island. And guess what? I created a curriculum that's in over 12 schools. I created that curriculum 2 years ago. And let me tell you something, it's doing very well. So, that's success for me, you know. I have 4 sons, you know, I have a nice house. I'm blessed, you know. I'm well respected regarding my community. My name gets me from jobs, open doors. That's a fact, right? And I say that very humbly. I don't say that to brag. It's just to say that, look at that, to me, that's success. So I feel like I am very successful, and I say that humbly. I'm able to do things that I don't know most people can do. And I'm good, and I thank God for that. So I'm successful. You know, people look at success, you measure in different ways. You know, I have real estate. I have businesses, so do I want to be a billionaire? For me, not necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like my kids are going to be good, and my kids are smart, their kids can be good, and my kids are probably going to be good. So I think touching people's lives at this point, helping young people becoming successful, opening doors, to me, that's success. And I am doing those things right now. And I'm just really in a humble and blessed place. Thank God for where I'm at.
Amazing. You know, as people think of success, you know, some people have accomplishments and achievements, and they call it success. And for me, just like you said, success is something sustainable that will impact that goes years from now. That's pretty much creating legacy.
That's right.
That transcends through generations.
That's right.
And that's exactly what you.
That's right.
You know.
You said the key words. As a matter of fact, when I talk to people, I always use the word legacy, because honestly, that's what I'm doing right now. I mean, you know, if I wanted to travel, I could retire, like, just keep traveling the world. But I'm focused on legacy at this point, and legacy looks like, you know, sustaining what I built, but more importantly, really impacting lives on a regular basis.
That's what it's all about. And that's what I'm taking note of. I'm not gonna, the future 10 years from now, I'm not gonna let that little achievements really blind me from, doing it.
But I'm going to remind you about that. When you become rich and famous and you got your own shot and say, yo, remember what you said?
Yes. So, great stuff. We've had an amazing discussion and everything. Can you tell me some personal values and something that has really gotten you to where you are in life?
Integrity. Integrity is so important. Integrity to me means you have to have integrity in how you deal with me, and I practice integrity. I don't always receive that all the time, but I practice it. And humanity is so important. You have to be able to see things in a humane, from a humane perspective. I'm not perfect, but anybody that wants to tell me knows me very well will tell you like I'm very compassionate and I deal with humanity. And I sometimes do forget. Those are the values, and I don't like people liars. I don't like liars. I don't personal values. I am never starstruck. Never get starstruck. I'm never starstruck. And I practice it. I practice really. Everything mindfulness practices, yoga, even my 6-year-old was yoga. My practice. Those are the values that I that you have to live, work, and play. And that wherever you are, do the good that you can, whenever and wherever you are. Those are my philosophies. And I think for over 30 years, and consistently I've done that. I've contributed to my community. I've advocated for my community. I've empowered young people. I've mentored. You heard the guy who might today said I wanted to be a mentor. Right. But he's not here. He's close to my age. And it's true. Over 20-something years, if I took him out of my way, and I showed him everything that I would have wanted anybody to show me. And that's how I lived my life. And even this conversation, that's what it's about. Passing knowledge in a way where it's not like out there, where people can connect with it. What I would say is, be very ambitious. Be very ambitious. But in your ambition, be committed to the hard work, working smart. And let me just say this, you gotta do your homework. We live in a day and age of where people want to, what is the word? They want to sugarcoat everything. They want to, package themselves and package everything without necessarily having the historical context, without doing their research, right? So it's super important for you to do your research on whatever you're trying to be or become or whatever, but it's also equally important for you to do the work. People always look at the shortcut, but I'm telling you, the shortcut will never give you the full value. You may become an overnight sensation, but guess what? You're going to be lacking in many spaces. You're either going to lose the money or not be able to manage it, or not necessarily be able to sustain what you're doing. So don't go for the hype. Do the work, do the groundwork, and like you said earlier, build a foundation, and then you will be able to sustain your success. And then be honest and always give back. Always give back, the society has become so schooly place. People don't live life unless I go on and get that. Give back. There is a blessing that comes with that.
Right. Thank you for watching Peps World. Mr. Bobby Digi, I appreciate you for coming here. It's been a lot of excitement and joy, talking to you, sharing your heart and the passion you have for what you do. I hope you stay tuned to Peps World. Always remember, continue to pursue excellence to produce success. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.